Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I have the meditation book right here, The Language of Letting Go, the sister book to Codependent No More by Melody Beatty. And I thought that we would get in here today. Should I just pick a meditation? Let's see what the meditation turned to. That would be funny if I did that, wouldn't it? March 9th, taking care of ourselves. So, I just did, you know what, I actually probably should read that, even though I've done this one, I probably did this one when it came up, but that's kind of the universe speaking to me, I think. I just did my weight loss journey update, and I was talking about how we've had, you know, just, it's been a rough couple days with little Boo Radley, and I'm not doing a very good job of taking care of myself at all. And in fact, I think I've talked about it over here. I know I've talked about it on my vlog. I'm just not doing a good job of taking care of myself at all. In fact, I kind of feel like I'm running on adrenaline right now. I'm getting about 4 hours of sleep at night. I'm not eating hardly anything, let alone anything healthy. And I'm just not really taking very good care of myself. I think maybe the one thing that I'm doing is filming videos to kind of get out of myself a little bit. I'm not even really watching as many shows as I had before because I'm just kind of like pretty fixated on what's going on and all that kind of stuff. So you know what, actually this would probably be a good meditation for me to read today. So maybe this one's for me. March 9th, taking care of ourselves. We cannot simultaneously set a boundary and take care of another. Why did I feel like I just read something like this? We cannot simultaneously set a boundary and take care of another person's feelings. It's impossible. The two acts contradict. What a tremendous asset to have compassion for others. How difficult that same quality can make it to set boundaries. It's good to care about other people and their feelings. It's essential to care about ourselves too. Did I just read this one? Is this why this is coming up? Well, let's read it anyway. It's good to care about other people and their feelings. It's essential to take care of ourselves too. Sometimes, to take good care of ourselves, we need to make a choice. Some of us live with a deeply ingrained message from our family or from church about never hurting other people's feelings. We can replace that message with a new one that says it's not okay to hurt ourselves. Sometimes when we take care of ourselves, others will react with hurt feelings. That's okay. We will learn, grow, and benefit by the experience. They will too. The most powerful and positive impact we can have on other people is accomplished by taking responsibility for ourselves and allowing others to be responsible for themselves. Caring works. Caretaking doesn't. This is very similar. This is not the same meditation, but it's very similar to the other meditation I read a couple days ago. Caring works. Caretaking doesn't. We can learn to walk the line between the two. Today I will set the limits I need to set. I will let go of my need to take care of other people's feelings and instead take care of my own. I will give myself permission to take care of myself, knowing it's the best thing I can do for myself and others. Interesting meditation. I think it's difficult. It's one thing when you're talking about taking care of others, and you know, it's interesting whenever I talk about this, because I'm talking about taking care of a dog, you know, I think it seems a little bit different. It's not like the dog is being selfish or anything, you know. I think it's interesting because whenever I talk about setting limits and boundaries with people, I get a lot of like DMs from people or a lot of comments, and people say, but I have to, like, how do I do this when I have to take care of, you know, my mother or my grandmother or, you know, my parents or, you know, whatever, or sibling, and they can't take care of themselves, but they talk horrendously to me or whatever, you know? I've actually thought a lot about that. I have not necessarily had that experience. You know, in my life, I haven't had that experience where I've had to take care of somebody and they've treated me horribly. So I don't know about that experience. I think that, and I think lived experience is probably more important than advice, in all honesty. I think if I were in that situation, probably what I would say today, at 52 years old, I don't know that I would have said this 20 years ago. I think today, I would probably say, I love you, I care about you, and so I'm going to continue to take care of you. I will not be spoken to that way. And that's the boundary you can set, right? And then if they continue to speak that way to you, you can take care of them. You can do what you need to do. You don't have to engage in it. I wouldn't engage in it. You know, I'd make them their lunch. I'd sit down, put their lunch, you know, in front of them if they're cussing me out, calling me names, telling me I'm a horrible this, a horrible that. I don't care. I wouldn't engage in it. You know, that's mental warfare that you're taking on that you don't need to take on during difficult times because you're going through stress as well. I think when it comes outside of, this is something I've had to really think about recently is, well, I mean, in the last 20 years of my life, I've done a lot of it, but I think, and I'm looking back on times that I've done it recently, is when relationships in my life, and not necessarily just romantic relationships, but relationships in my life have kind of run their course. You know, like I'm so thankful that marriage counseling has really saved our marriage. I think there was a point in marriage counseling when I was asking myself, has it run its course? You know, having been in 2 other long-term relationships that didn't make it, I felt like I knew what that feeling was like, and it didn't feel like it was over yet. So I kind of had a comparison study to what that looked like. And so with Alex, like when we went in there into marriage counseling, we decided to give it a year, that we were going to dedicate a year to it and then see what happened at the end of the year. I think that was like, you know, a goal. But I think, you know, in the past when it's been other relationships, friendships, things like that, not even like, I wouldn't say like hardcore friendships. Although I will say I have had a few close friendships in my life where I feel like the friendship was no longer healthy. And for me, I mean, I can't speak for other people's experiences with their friendship with me, but I'm talking about with me, right? I'm sure that in my past, I have been toxic for somebody else and that they've had to distance themselves from me. I'm sure that that's happened, especially during my using. But, you know, in my life, there's been points where I have had to pull back and be like, this relationship is not healthy for me anymore. I can't engage it anymore. What's interesting about that is that I typically am in my head a lot about. I can remember back about this one situation, right? This one friend of mine. And I was like, I don't know what to do about this friendship. Like, I really do not know what to do. Like, I just, you know, it's never reciprocal. Like, I'm always reaching out to them. They never reach out to me. That should have been, you know, red flag number 1. I'm always asking them how they're doing. I'm always concerned about them, but they're never like asking me how I'm doing. They're never like interested. They're never asking me if I need anything. That should be red flag number 2. I mean, the relationship was a one-sided relationship, but I was so worried. I didn't know what to do. And I was like, I mean, I don't know do I say something? Do I not say something? And I think I remember, I can't remember who I was talking to. It was probably Tanya at the time. And Tanya was like, why do you feel like you need to say something to them when they're not even reaching out to you? And I think for me, I desired some kind of like closure conversation, or maybe, you know, in retrospect, what I was seeking out was I wanted to say it to them and then be like, oh my God, you know, mind blown. Like, I'm sorry that I was treating you that way. I shouldn't have. But what ended up happening was I stopped reaching out, and I stopped, you know, asking them if they were okay. It was too painful, in all honesty. Like, they never showed up for my stuff. They never showed up for me. They never asked me how I was doing. This was years and years and years ago. And it just really hurt, you know? And so I can remember, like, a lot thinking about this and scripting conversations in my head. Do you ever do that? Scripting conversations in my head about like, well, what am I going to do? Like, when I run into them, I'm going to have to say this and whatever. And I can remember it was just like, because at that time, I was, like, seeing them probably, like, once a month or something like that. And I was like, well, the next time I see them, or I'm not going to go to this because I know that they're going to be there. Or what am I going to say? You know, or I'm going to call them up. And, like, I want to sit down and have lunch and have this conversation. And I think it was in talking to Tanya. And Tanya was like, I don't know why you need to even say anything, you know? And so I didn't. I just chose not to. And I think it was, like, 2 or 3 months before I even ran into them the next time. And I can remember it was, like, it was at some holiday party. It was like Halloween or Christmas or something like that. I can't remember. And I was like, I saw them and I can kind of see it. Like, I'm in the kitchen and I saw them in passing. They just were kind of like, hey, they like put their hand on my shoulder. Like, how are you? It's good to see you. And they kept on walking. And I was like, I was ready for the conversation. And then I can remember getting home and I was just like, yeah, the conversation is never going to happen. And I really haven't talked to them that much in the last 10 or 15 years. I mean, if I've seen them at things that we're at, but it's like, okay, they really were not that invested in the relationship. And I didn't even know, you know? I'm sitting here spinning conversations, more concerned about, I mean, you know, it's like I saw this thing, I think it was on Facebook last night, because it reminded me of this story. And it said something like, when you realize that you love somebody deep, that somebody that you love deeply doesn't care about you at all. And I think that was the feeling that I had, right? Well, it hurt. Like, it hurt a lot. And so I think we talk a lot about setting boundaries and limits and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, and I know in retrospect, I've been a good friend to them. I know that. I don't know what was going on with them. I don't keep up with them today. I see them every once in a blue moon, you know, and I don't have that emotional attachment to that relationship today. It took me a while. I can remember it took me a long time where I would be like, you know, it wasn't just that time. It was, you know, every other get together or something that we would go to because we kind of ran the same circle. I was like, I'm going to run into them. Like, what am I going to do, you know? And so I was a little worried about it. And I can remember it was just like, there was some moment where I just was like, they never really cared about me. How did I like get confused if this was like a friendship of meaning when it obviously wasn't? And then I was like, I would look back on the phone conversations, and it was just like, oh my God, it was just like such one-sided phone conversations, you know, and like never asking me. And I can remember just like hanging up the phone and being like, what just happened, you know? But that was what I defined as a friendship back in the day. Like, they needed me, right? Like, they needed me, and so they wanted to talk to me. I don't know that they needed me. I think they just needed somebody to vent to and talk to. I don't think they needed me. I don't think they needed Peter. I think that hurt when I realized that I realized that I was just kind of like a seat filler, you know? I don't do that today. You know, I was talking in my vlog the other day that, like, my circle is very small, and I'm very proud of the fact that my circle is very small, because the people that I have in my life today, I know are ride or die. But the side note to that, the hard part of that is that it's also very lonely when your circle is that small. I mean, it really is. I mean, I'm kind of laughing while I say it, because it's not like I have like 50 people to call and, you know, go out to dinner and stuff. And the reality is that the circle that I have, it's like, you know, 2 of my friends live out of state, and one of my very dear friends lives like 3 hours north. Like 2 or 3 of my friends here, my best friends, are very busy, you know, have a lot of stuff going on, and so it's not like they can stop their life. And so when your circle is small, there's a loneliness that comes with that. I'm grateful for those friends. I'm forever grateful for those friends, but my circle is small. I also know that, and I know that this is kind of like a hard thing to swallow, but I know this about myself. I would rather be at home alone by myself than in a friendship where I'm constantly wondering where I stand. That's one of the things with the circle being small and even being lonely, that I can deal with being lonely, you know? And as an only child, that grew up as an only child, I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, because I didn't know they were an only child. And I was like, you're an only child too? And they're like, yeah. And I said, isn't it so interesting that when you grow up as an only child, like there's like all this stuff, but I think you learn to play by yourself very well. And I think you also learn to seek your own independence. And so being an only child has taught me to play by myself very well, so to speak. And so I do appreciate, I get lonely at times, like I seek needing to be around people. But it's like I was saying on my vlog, I think this was just yesterday or the day before, that's like this fine line that I walk between wanting to be around people and wanting to just be alone, you know, or like be home or go out and be around people. So it's like this fine line that I walk. And, you know, I think that I would rather, I mean, I can say this now, having been in relationships that were toxic, that weren't healthy for me. I would rather spend time by myself than sacrifice spending a lot of time with somebody that I found out later, you know, didn't care about me at all. That hurts. Like, that hurts a lot. That hurts a lot to engage time and energy into a relationship where you find out that somebody doesn't care about you at all. I think when it comes to taking care of family members and things like that, that you have to, because there's nobody else there to really do it, or you feel like you need to. I think it's, check your motives on why you're doing it. Are you doing it because you think it's the right thing to do? If you're doing it because it's the right thing to do, I think that's the right reason to do it. If you're doing it because you want pats on the back, or you want accolades, or you want to be seen a different way, you're probably, if you've never been seen a different way by that family member, you're probably never going to be seen a different way. Do it because it feels good in your heart. You know, it's like my mom used to say to me years and years and years ago, we don't give gifts to get gifts in return. You know, you give gifts because that's what you want to do, not because you expect a gift in return. So I think one of the things we say in recovery a lot is check our motives. So if you're doing something like that and you're feeling like, I'm so underappreciated, I mean, are you doing it for the appreciation? Are you doing it for the pats on the back? Are you doing it because you're hoping that one day they'll look at you and realize, oh my God, you're the most amazing daughter, you're the most amazing granddaughter? Well, if they haven't seen it for 30 or 40 years, they're probably not going to see it. Over you bringing them a meal because they can't leave their house, or you taking them to the doctor's appointment. You're probably just going to get more of what you got for the last 30 or 40 years, you know? And it's like small little pieces that I learned, you know, through different things. It's like I had a friend of mine back in the day, and I can remember like the bar scene, going out to the bar, and this guy had asked me, he's like, my electricity is going to be turned off, and like I have to have like, it was like $80 or $100 or something like that. And I felt so bad for him, and like I can remember like giving him this money, and then like he was like, I'll pay you back the next week. And like the next couple weeks he was out like, you know, buying drinks and all this kind of stuff. I was like, he has money to buy drinks, but he doesn't have money to pay me back my $100 or $80 or $100, which at that time was a lot, you know? And I was like, he's not has the money to give me back $80 or $100 for his electricity must be on, because he looks like he got ready in electricity, you know? And I remember saying something to my friend And one of my best friends, we were out, and my friend said, if you do something for somebody, do it because it's out of the kindness of your heart, because you really want to do it. Don't do it because you, like, if you give somebody something, like if you give somebody, loan somebody money, don't ever expect it back. If you get it back, that's a gift, but don't ever expect it back. Do it because you want to do it. And I think that that's the things in life. Like, that doesn't just go to gifts, like my mother said, or money, like my friend was talking about. That extends to the gifts of our heart and the things that we do, right? And it's like, are you doing it because of what you're going to get in return, or are you doing it because you feel like it's the right thing to do? And that's something that I question myself today about. You know, there are things that I have to do in this world that I have to do. Like, there's nobody else to do them, and it's just me and whatever. So I have to do those things, even so sometimes I don't want to, right? Those are a lot of things that we have to do. So I try to realize that, like, this is part of my life. This is part of what I have to do. Then there are other things that I opt to do. There are other things that I volunteer to do to help people and whatever. It's important to check your motives on that. Are you doing it to get pats on your back? Are you doing it so that other people will notice it? Are you wanting to tell other people about it? And if it's not, and you're doing it because you have to, because there's nobody else to do it, then see if you can find a way to set some boundaries with even in doing that. Like, I can do this, but I'm not going to spend 3 hours here. I'm going to spend 1 hour here. And I'm going to take care of myself, and I'm going to listen to music with AirPods on while I clean your house and you're screaming at me in the background, and I'm not going to be spoken to that way, you know? So if you continue to speak to me that way, instead of me staying an hour and giving you this meal and sitting with you, then I'm going to bring you your meal and I'm going to leave in 15 minutes because you spoke to me that way, you know? What I have learned in life is that when you set boundaries like that, when you say to somebody, they may not get it the first time, they may not get it the second time, but the third or fourth time, they'll get it, you know what I mean? So I think that's like, I think that's an important lesson to learn, is that when you start setting boundaries, and at first when you start setting boundaries, people won't really realize that you're serious about it. So you have to hold to your boundaries, you know what I mean? So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.